Number four that I chose is to paint a mental picture with multi-sensory experiences. In other words, sometimes verbal explanations are just not enough. Sometimes it really helps your audience to use things like images or props to give audiences multiple ways to take in pieces of information. There is a professor named Dr. Richard Meyer, in fact, who ran many different studies about multisensory learning. And he said that students who were exposed to multisensory environments, such as text, pictures, animations, and video, always, not sometimes, always, had much more accurate recall of information than students who only listened to the information. So when you can incorporate visuals or some kind of realia, for example, a real life item into your speech or your presentation, it can make it a lot more engaging and a lot more likely for students or other teachers to listen and absorb your message. One of the big elements of TED Talks is to use images to replace words whenever possible. If you look at a PowerPoint presentation for a TED Talk, it is very image heavy. There are very few, if any, words that the speaker uses. In fact, Carmine Gallo actually did a study on the PPTs of different TED Talks and found that the average one had about 40 words. Not 40 words on a slide, about 40 words total. Sometimes single words or pictures can tell a much more compelling message than simply a wall of text on a PowerPoint slide. So let's look at an example here of a woman who uses props in order to really open up her TED Talk with a powerful statement.
So I didn't always make my living from music. For about the 5 years after graduating from an upstanding liberal arts university, this was my day job. I was a self-employed living statue called the 8-Foot Bride, and I love telling people I did this for a job because everybody always wants to know who are these freaks in real life. Hello.
And finally, stay in your lane. In other words, be authentic. What does it mean for someone to stay in their lane? Well, it's a kind of metaphor. Everybody is a car. We are all driving on our own road of life. And it doesn't help you to try and drive in someone else's lane. It doesn't help you to try and live the life of someone else. The best life that you can live is the one that you can think of as best for yourself. As Gallo writes, stay in your lane, hold the space, be true to your authentic self, the best representation of yourself that you can possibly be. This is really important for delivering a presentation because if we're not careful, sometimes our grammar explanations or our teacher talk can come across as very dry or very not interesting because we're trying to simply teach material that someone else wrote down. So when you deliver a presentation, as Gallo writes, your goal should not be just deliver a presentation. It should be to inspire your audience, to move them, and to encourage them to dream bigger. I want to finish this section with a little quote by Sir Richard Branson. He once said, "Work is not separate from play, and play is not separate from work. They are all living." So be true to yourself and your identity as a teacher when you consider how you present your lessons or how you might give a presentation to colleagues. Here is one example of a brain scientist named Jill Bolte Taylor who injects some of her own spiritual wisdom into what is actually a very science heavy TED talk.
Right here, right now, I can step into the consciousness of my right hemisphere where I am the life force power of the universe. I am the life force power of the 50 trillion beautiful molecular geniuses that make up my form, at one with all that is. Or I can choose to step into the consciousness of my left hemisphere, where I become a single individual, a solid, separate from the flow, separate from you. I am Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, intellectual, neuroanatomist. These are the we inside of me. Which would you choose? Which do you choose? And when? I believe that the more time we spend choosing to run the deep inner peace circuitry of our right hemispheres, the more peace we will project into the world, and the more peaceful our planet will be. And I thought that was an idea worth spreading. Thank you.
So that's all I have to say today about some of the wisdom that we can get from listening to TED Talks. I hope that you found this helpful or useful, and I can't wait to see you in class next time. Until next time, cheers.